Scale is mineral that's within a water source. What it does is it falls out of suspension and it plates itself onto the heat transfer surface. That in turn impedes the heat transfer itself from the piece of equipment. Scaling can be wide-ranging when it comes to the overall composition. That can range from silica to phosphates to even iron deposits that have fallen out of suspension. Scaling is prevalent in any type of equipment that's utilizing water as a heating or cooling type of medium. Hard water is the biggest contributor to scaling. The more mineral that's within a water source, the more likelihood it is to fall out of suspension. As it falls out of suspension, it plates itself onto the heat transfer surface, not allowing proper cooling or heating. Most customers feel that their scale deposit is always going to be lime, yet it can be much more complex. You can have other attributes that create the overall deposit. The most common contributor to a scale deposit is calcium carbonate. It's the most readily dissolvable, but deposits can be comprised of a lot of other constituents as well, such as silicas or phosphates, or even iron deposits that are found in any water source. Identifying your specific scale can be a little bit more involved. Ultimately, we want to make sure we're the right product for your scale deposit. But to know for sure, you'd have to do an analysis of that deposit to break it down and see what it actually is comprised of. There's a more simplistic approach that we can take as well, as providing you a sample of our product, putting it in a cup, and adding the product to your deposit. If it dissolves down completely, we know that will be the right solution for your piece of equipment. The key indicators are loss of heat transfer, loss of flow, and reduced efficiency within the piece of equipment. Not in most applications. In certain situations, such as a cooling tower, you'll be able to look at your fill material and see the scaling occurring there. If you have significant scaling within your cooling tower, there's a pretty good chance that you have it within the equipment that the tower is cooling as well. The biggest contributor scale has to equipment is the loss of heat transfer. The more that insulative barrier impedes that heat transfer, the less efficiency your equipment's going to have. Scale break is comprised of base constituents that penetrate into a deposit and dissolve it down into a liquid suspension. As the circulation process takes place, it removes those deposits from within the piece of equipment. Removing scale can become somewhat complex at times. However, if we know it's primarily a calcium carbonate deposit, it's removed simply by performing a circulation of that piece of equipment. We would pump into the bottom and return the fluid out the top. With our formulations, our chemical engineers have worked diligently to create a proper balance between inhibitors, penetrating agents, and the base constituents that work on the deposit. You have a finished formula that's going to be safe, biodegradable, and non-hazardous. Our scale break family of Descalers originated with this blend right here. This was our original scale break product. It has some base constituents in it that aren't designed for every piece of base metal. So what we did is we've expanded our family because we know that one solution does not fit all situations. And we came out with our Scale Break SS. This is specifically designed for stainless steel and will not do any harm to your stainless steel equipment. We then expanded past it a little bit to our multi-purpose Scale Break. This product is designed for our larger applications. It's got a great absorption rate, but yet takes a little bit longer than these other two products here. And then finally, we developed our Scale Break Gel. Though this product was designed for cooling tower fill, it works exceptional on the vertical surfaces of tanks. What makes our products safe is that they're blended finished formulas. What we've done with our chemistry team is comprised base constituents and brought them together in harmony so that they bring both safety, functionality, biodegradability to the job. Foaming is a result of the base constituents dissolving down the overall deposit. Some of our products foam a little bit more than others, but that's a result of the product working. Heavier deposits will require additional product and/or circulation time. This is because every descaling product is going to have a different saturation point, and what that equates to is how much scale deposit it can actually absorb before it becomes neutralized. Each piece of equipment is going to have its own corresponding set of questions as to how to go about cleaning it in the proper way. By contacting Goodway Technologies, we're going to guide you in the proper methodologies as to how to best go about cleaning your piece of equipment. The best way to measure the effectiveness of a cleaning is by performing a payback analysis. What you do is you take the overall costs of your cleaning and compare that to the energy savings that you've just attained. An interesting fact that many people may not understand or know about is a phenomenon called underdeposit corrosion. And what takes place is that when you have a base metal surface and then your scale deposit that creates over it, that in-between layer, that small amount there, becomes a very corrosive atmosphere. And what it does is it pits and eats into your base metal. That in turn causes damage to the equipment and shortens its overall longevity. An example of a cost savings would be one of our plastic customers who contacted us recently. They were having issues with an extruder and high temperatures. What they were getting was high rejection rates on their parts and slow process time. Once they were able to clean the extruder out, they had better flow rates for the water to pass through, and it was transferring heat much better. That in turn increased their part production and decreased their rejection rate. If you've completed the circulation of your piece of equipment and you now need to dispose of the product, we recommend doing a pH test. If it falls within the range of the release limit at your facility, then you can put it down normal plant sewers. If not, then you'll need to add a product such as our scale break neutralizer to bring that pH up to a releasable value. Descaling frequency at your facility will really depend on the water quality that's coming in and the heat that's being generated within your piece of process equipment. The higher the temperature, the more scale is going to fall out of suspension and plate onto your equipment. The frequency may range anywhere from months to biannual to even annual. Logbooks are important. This will give you an indicator as to when your cleanings should be taking place. When you exceed those parameters to where you know the equipment is no longer efficient, then you want to perform your cleanings. Facilities that are utilizing raw or untreated water are going to be more common to following issues. A couple examples of those types of facilities are power plants and or paper mills. They're some of the largest water users in the country. Our solutions range from our scale break family of descalers to not only our brush systems, but also our tube shot systems. Mechanically removing a deposit would come into play when there's a very complex one that our chemicals will not dissolve. For instance, a silica or a phosphate deposit. In a situation such as that, the mechanical means are going to be more successful. One of the hurdles you could face when performing a CIP, for example, is with a heat exchanger. If you have tubes that are completely plugged, what can happen is the product, as it's being circulated in, the pump brings it in positive force, and the descaler starts to work on the deposit right there. As it neutralizes within that deposit, there's no way to bring fresh solution in contact with it. So you create a dead zone barrier and stops working. By incorporating a drill and opening that back up, then we can do the full circulation and it'll rapidly dissolve down that deposit, opening it up. Our first is our scale break gel. This product is designed to be applied to the tower fill and adhere to vertical surfaces. It allows the product to penetrate into the deposit and dissolve it down into a liquid suspension so that it can be removed. The second option is our liquid descalers, which can be added to the sump basin and circulated through the tower load. You do have to keep in mind though that when cleaning the tower, anything within that water system, you have to equate enough product to clean it as well. Descaling a cooling tower is going to be dependent on a couple of different variables: overall thickness of deposit and overall size of the equipment.